Whether to do a shallow copy or a deep copy in JavaScript, it seems like such a trivial thing, but it can have serious ramifications if you get it wrong. If you choose a shallow copy when you should have done a deep copy, you can get some mysterious, nasty bugs with data getting overwritten when you don't expect it. And if you go the other way, where you do a deep copy instead of doing a shallow copy, you'll pay a big price. Your code will be slower and it'll take up more memory than it needs to, so not great if you make the wrong decision. So let's start off by going over what does a shallow clone and what does a deep clone. The most common way to do a shallow clone is to use the spread operator, either in an array or in an object. There's also object.assign and array.from to clone objects and arrays. And there are a bunch of methods on array that create shallow copies as well, but also do some mutation in the process, like map, filter, toSorted, toSpliced, and more. On the deep cloning side, we often use a combination of JSON stringify and JSON parse to make a deep copy of an array or an object. And we can also use this new one called structured clone as well. And those are just the built-in ways to clone objects and arrays. But on top of that, there are also libraries like Lodash that have their own cloning methods. Now, I'm not sure today you still need those, but what's important is that you understand when you're using them, whether you're getting a shallow or a deep clone. So now that we know what makes a shallow clone and what makes a deep clone, let's figure out what those actually are. What is the difference between a shallow clone and a deep clone? And that way we'll know when to use which version, the deep or the shallow clone. So let's start off by looking at some primitive variables. So over here in VS Code, I'm going to bring up a Quokka sheet. Quokka is an extension of VS Code. It's a worksheet system that you can use to just try out things in JavaScript. So I'm going to create a new variable here called S1. I'm going to assign it the value Sue. And when we console log it out, we see Sue. Now let's assign a new variable called S2 to S1. And what should that create? Well, that too is Sue because we've set the value of S2 to S1. Now we change S2 to say Bob. What do we expect from S2? Well, we expect that to say Bob, right? But what does that mean for S1? Well, if we go back here to S1, S1 remains as Sue. And that makes sense, right? We made a copy of S1 into S2, and then we changed S2, and that doesn't affect S1. It makes total sense. But with objects and arrays, it gets trickier because unlike primitive values like strings, numbers, booleans, objects and arrays are managed by references. So let's try this again, but with an array this time. So I'm going to create a new variable called A1, and I'm going to give it an array, and that array has 10, 20, and 30 in it. And I'm going to create a new variable called A2, assign it to A1. So what do we expect from that? Well, as you'd expect, A2 also says 10, 20, and 30. But now let's go and set a value inside of A2 to say 200. Now let's go take a look at A2, and now we got 10, 200, and 30. But what happened to A1? Well, let's go take a look at that. Well, A1 is now also 10, 200, and 30. So what actually happened there? So what actually happened was this. We started with A1, it's connected to an array, 10, 20, 30. We then set A2 to A1. And all that did was just copy the reference from A1 to A2. They both referred to exactly the same array in memory. And then when I made the change to A2, then it also changed A1. Uh-oh. So let's go back into the code and see if we can fix this by making a copy of A1. If we want to make a copy of A1, then all we need to do is just use the spread operator to create A2. Now we can see that A2 has 10, 200, and 30, but A1 remains the same because now in memory, we're pointing at two different arrays. Let's go take a look back at the code. In this case, the outer brackets of line 15 are where we created the array. And then we use the spread operator to say, take all the contents of A1 and put it into our new array. That's called a shallow copy. Now to check out what a deep copy is, and when we need one, let's create an object. So I'm going to create a pizza. Our first pizza, pizza 1, it's going to be a large pizza that's going to have pepperoni and sausage on it. And as you'd expect coming out of the console, we get size large and the toppings of pepperoni and sausage. Now let's do a shallow clone of pizza 1 into pizza 2. So this time we've used brackets to go and create a new object, and we've used a spread operator to say take everything from pizza 1 and clone it into that object. And as you can see, we've got a good shallow clone. So now let's set the first topping of our toppings to anchovies. And as we can see, pizza 2 now has the toppings of anchovies and sausage. Not sure I'd love that, but let's go take a look at pizza 1. And now pizza 1 also has anchovies and sausage. Not good. So when we started with pizza 1 connected to its own object with a size large and its toppings. And then we created pizza 2, we did a shallow clone, which means that we got a first level clone. The size got copied and the toppings also got copied to a reference to the same array. So as you can see, it's shallow. We didn't go deep on it. We didn't actually clone the toppings array as well. What we really wanted was a full deep clone of pizza 1 into pizza 2. So you'd have 2 different objects and also 2 different arrays of toppings. Let's go back into the code and see how we could do that. One way to do that actually involves using the spread operator. So instead of just spreading pizza 1 at the top level, we also spread toppings. Now we see that we get a full clone of our object by doing shallow copies at every level. Another option is to use the JSON parse JSON stringify method. Here we're using stringify to turn pizza 1 into a JSON string, and then we're using JSON parse immediately to parse that back into an object. That's great, but it doesn't work for some data types, like, for example, dates. So now I think because we've used this JSON stringify, JSON parse so much, they've actually given us structured clone inside JavaScript, which actually does a much more efficient job at doing the clone and doesn't have the drawbacks of things like dates. So using structured clone, we can just give it pizza 1 and we get back a full copy into pizza 2. Now let's do a little performance check here to see the impact of deep cloning. So over in my Arc browser, I've got JS benchmark set up. We have the initial pizza setup as the base data, so size large with the pepperoni and sausage toppings, and we just want to do a clone of that. So we're going to try 3 different methods. The first option is to do the nested shallow clone like we did initially. The next one is to try out the JSON parse of the JSON stringify. And then the third is the structured clone. So let's go and see how these actually compare. All right, turns out the nested shallow cloning was way faster than JSON stringify, which is actually in this case way faster still than structured clone. So to kind of sum up here, I would say shallow cloning, when you can get away with it, gives you really precise control of where you do your cloning. You can do it shallow at the top level. You can do it shallow at nested levels as well. You get a lot of control that way. And then, of course, there's the deep clone options with JSON stringify and structured clone, which will have impact on both time and also memory performance. Now, I wish I could use some hard and fast rules about when to clone shallow and when to clone deep. But in all honesty, it's all situational. You, as a developer, need to decide based on the structure of the data, how it's stored in memory, what's safely mutable and what's immutable. And you need to know the various pieces of code that are going to interact with that data. Can they be trusted not to change it? Figuring all that out is why we still all have jobs in the era of the AI coders. If you have any questions about deep or shallow cloning, be sure to put those in the comment section right down below. Now, I have been working not just on YouTube, but also on my own course called pro-nextjs.dev. You can sign up for a newsletter on that. There are 2 fantastic tutorials in there on both state management and forms management. Those are free. Go check it out today. In the meantime, of course, do me a favor. If you like the video, hit that like button. If you really like the video, hit the subscribe button and click on the bell and be notified the next time a new blue collar coder comes out.